YouTubers, welcome back to my channel. This is the only way I can get Thor in the intro right now. So this is Thor. There goes Thor. This is Keno, who is much more well-behaved than Thor. We're gonna let them chew on their big bones and then try to get them to join us towards the end of the video. But that's as good as we're gonna get with the dogs in the video for now, because they're just not interested in us. Now that we have the dogs settled, you're probably gonna hear a lot of chewing. So if you hear a lot of munching, it's just to keep them busy for right now. But this is Dev. She doesn't really do YouTube videos, but I'm kind of forcing her to do it because she had a different experience with international dog travel. And as you can see, she has a horse for a dog. So I figured this is a good way. I've had a lot of people ask me about international dog travel with a big dog, how it works. And I'm gonna put a disclaimer out there before we even get started into all the good juicy details. Everyone's experience is different. Her experience was different than my experience. Your experience might be different if you have a smaller dog. Things can change because of COVID. So this is just kind of what we went through, and then you can kind of have a little peace of mind knowing kind of how it goes, and then just take the information that you can out of this video and hopefully it will help. Thor's about 60 pounds. Keno is, how much is he now?
75.
75. So that gives you kind of an idea. Thor's a little, he's weird shaped. I mean, he's kind of thicker in the middle. He's not as tall. Keno's just very, very tall and like just big everywhere. Like Keno's tail just itself is like super big. So the first thing you're gonna need to get is the health certificate. Now this is important because it's 10 days before you travel. So you need to make the appointment like 2 days or like 1 day right before you're ready to leave to Germany. So that way it doesn't expire, because with you,
so we got stuck at Baltimore because our flight got canceled. So we got stuck there for 4 days and then we flew. So if you got your health certificate like 4 days before the flight,
you could be screwed.
Yeah, your dog might not be able to fly.
So you, just to be safe, try to make that appointment as close to when you're about to leave, just so you have some wiggle room if you have to like get a delay in flights or you have to stop somewhere. Anything could go wrong. So you need to make sure the health certificate is within 10 days. So I have his health certificate here, and one thing to remember is that they're very specific on blue ink. Any written signature or anything on all these papers needs to be in blue ink. So mine has my Florida address on it. So this is basically, the front page tells you just the microchip number, your address, rabies vaccine is really important. Saying that he passed the inspection. Okay, so USDA certified. I don't think I've ever went through all these papers before. This is saying that he has all of his shots. It's a lot of paperwork. It's a very thick packet. I don't want to show you all of my information, but this is very important. You need to keep it with you in your PCS binder or whatever, so that way when you're getting ready to get on the plane, you can just hand this to them. My vet actually gave me 2 copies just in case if anything happened. I believe the second copy was in black but with the ink, but that was just in case anything went wrong, and I just held on to everything with blue ink in my binder. They tell you that your dog, if you want to have your dog as cargo on the same flight as you, that there's different types of planes that are different sizes for the door for it to go in. So they told me that the combined weight of my dog and the crate could not exceed like 120 pounds for him to fly on the same flight as us. Now in her case, her dog did not come till after they arrived, and he flew
through I guess like a private company,
right?
And what you're talking about, like the different planes, it's called series, I believe. And what we were doing, because we were trying to make him fly with us, you can call the flight the flight number, I guess, and they can tell you the specific series that the plane is, and then you can figure out if your dog can be on it or not.
Yeah, so I flew with American Airlines before my actual international flight, and then I did Patriot Express for the military flight. We went to visit home before we PCS'd, and we flew from Vegas to Miami, and I had to make sure that the plane was big enough for him to fit on, and that's why we drove from Miami to Fort Walton Beach, which is a long drive, but we had no choice because big airports are gonna have big airplanes. If you're from a small town, they're probably not gonna have like big airplanes and stuff like that. So it was a lot more complicated for me. Military wise, flying was easy, it was a breeze, everything was taken care of. But if you're doing it on your own commercial flight, that's a whole different ball game, and it can be a little bit stressful because American Airlines, different people tell you different information, and then you know, you're like, okay, this plane is big enough, then you call 2 weeks before your flight, they're like, oh, that plane is not big enough. So just know that you're gonna have a lot of wiggle room. Now, depending when you're PCSing, the temperature can only be, do you remember?
45. That's 40, what the airline allows.
So 45 degrees is what the airlines allow for the dog to be able to fly in the plane because of temperature issues.
I think it's, I don't know, they're fine. I think it's like from 45 to 85. That's the temperature they're allowed.
So, but if you have a certain dog that is acclimated to like colder weather, you can actually get the vet to give like a special certificate, so that way you're able to fly if you have something that says like your dog is used to cold temperatures. When I got to the airport, basically for PCSing, not commercial, when we got there, there's actually a dog area for you to take your dog to use the bathroom when you get to the airport. The one at BWI is outside, so you can take your dog on a cart, go to the little bathroom area, take them to use the bathroom. Then they do the TSA little check, and then you say bye to your dog.
You're fine, puppies. You're fine, puppies. You're fine.
Stop looking.
And then you get on the plane. Now when you get on the plane, in my situation, you can they're gonna give you like a little card that says your cargo is safely on the plane with Thor's name on it, and that made me feel a lot better. I found this out the hard way with my husband. So if you're renting a car, we rented a car from Florida to Baltimore, and then we flew from Baltimore to Germany. Now, if you rent a car through Enterprise, the place that you drop your car off at is very far from the entrance to where the actual airport is. It's a big, far distance. We learned this when we were in Miami, and they didn't have any carts that were big enough for Thor's crate or whatever. So when you have your family members or whatever, have them drop your wife, spouse, like JR dropped me off at the actual entrance with all of our luggage, all of our stuff. Then he returned the Enterprise car, and then he rode the little tram from there to where I was, and then we got on the train. Because when we were in Miami, we were at one of the places, I was like, okay, we need to go from the drop-off point to the airport, and they're like, oh, you have to ride the tram. Well, when you're PCSing, you have how many bags? Like 3 apiece, so like 6 suitcases plus your dog's huge crate, your backpacks, your purses, all this stuff. And Thor's dog crate is humongous, and the little tiny pushing cart things or whatever are really, really small. So just exit all that hassle and just have whoever's driving drop you, your dog, all of your stuff at the airport, and then just have the person that's driving come separate on the little tram or whatever. Just be prepared and leave early so that you have like an extra hour and a half to do all the switching stuff. When we finally got to Germany, Thor was to the left and our luggage was to the right. Now, there was nobody waiting to like see paperwork from us to prove that he was our dog. There was just a dog in a crate that happened to be Thor, and he was just looking around looking for us, and we just took him straight off. There was nobody waiting. There was no certain thing that they wanted to do. Now, we did do some research before this, and we saw some other person that did a video saying that there's someone waiting for you.
There should be somebody waiting.
That does like a health inspection on your dog, making sure you have all your paperwork, that your dog is okay. Some people have this happen to them, and I did not. Like I said, there was nobody there to even make sure that I was taking my own dog. So just be prepared. Don't think that you're gonna get away with not having your paperwork, because that'll be the time that there's actually someone there to check. In my case, Thor had a ride in the bus. So if you're coming to Grafenweer, you're going to fly into Ramstein, and then you're going to ride a bus from Ramstein to Grafenweer, which is like 6 hours. So the first night they actually take you to a hotel, but your dog's still going to go directly into underneath the bus, and then you're gonna go from the airport to the hotel. Then the next day is a 6-hour drive from the hotel to Grafenweer. So it is temperature controlled underneath. Thor was so tired. Thankfully, he was all right. It was really cold, but Thor's half husky, so he's made for cold weather. He was fine. Now, they tell you do not sedate your dog before they get on the plane. Thor is very, very, very high anxiety. She can attest to this because she had to ride in the car with me to take Thor to get his surgery. And even a car ride, Thor screams. It sounds like I have a little child in my car that is screaming like I kidnapped someone. He does not like traveling at all. So I was really worried with him being a high anxiety, large dog, flying for the first time and then going underneath the bus. Now, this is not on record or not, but Thor may have had some Benadryl. Maybe, I don't know, you know. It is okay for vets to tell you that you might give your dog a little bit of Benadryl to calm them down on the plane, if you do it like hours before, just to help them relax a little bit. You don't want to give them like tranquilizers, because Thor is actually prescribed like calming stress tranquilizer pills, but that messes up their breathing. And in high altitudes, you don't want to give your dog a bunch of drugs and they can't breathe, and then the worst actually happens. So just keep that in mind. If you have a high anxiety dog, just try the Benadryl out just on a regular day. Calculate it to their weight. I think Thor can have 2, and just see how they react. If it calms them down, if it helps a little bit, just because traveling can be really stressful. When you're on that bus ride, they do stop midway at the 3-hour point for you to stop at McDonald's. Now, for one, this can be kind of a culture shock, because this is the first thing that you're going to be doing in Germany. We were able to let Thor stretch his legs, use the bathroom. Now, Germany is very dog friendly. We did not know that Thor could probably go inside McDonald's and eat with us. We're not used to that, so we just stayed outside in the freezing cold, let Thor stretch his legs, get some fresh air, ate our food, and then we got back onto the bus. Now, when we got to our final destination, which was Grafenweer, the sponsor was not tracking that me and my husband were actually coming. We got stuck with staying on Vilsek because it was a very last minute thing, and then the person that was taking us from Grafenweer to Vilsek didn't want a dog in their car. So you just need to make sure that if you have a very big dog, that whoever's taking you from point A to point B has a vehicle that's going to be big enough to transport your dog. All right, Deb is not used to doing YouTube videos, like I said before, but she's doing this because of me, because I wanted to explain different situations. So that was pretty much how I got my dog over here. She did a whole other smorgasbord ball game, so she's gonna tell you about how she brought Keno over here and everything that she had to do.
So we originally planned coming over here and bringing him Keno, just like they did, but we weren't able to just because of it was cold at that time. We came February, which we came from Dallas, and that's around the coldest time in Dallas. and we couldn't find him a flight to go from Dallas to Baltimore that could carry his kennel, which he has the giant size kennel, and that is the 48 times 32 times 35 inches, which
That's
is
the extra large?
that's a giant.
Giant? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Because he's tall. The giant is supposed to be from 90 to 125 pounds, but he just has long legs. And we went so far to buy the extra large kennel and took it to the airlines, and they rejected it, saying that his head was still too close to the top of the kennel. So we had to get the giant one, and yeah, that's what not a lot of aircrafts can carry that sized kennel.
Yeah.
So we ended up having our friends to pick him up from Dallas and take him back to where we were stationed, and they held him there for about a good month. And we finally got here to Germany, didn't go through none of that stuff, thankfully. I'm so glad we didn't do none of that, because I was already very stressed out as it was, and then with Keno on top of it. I'm glad I didn't.
It's a lot. Well, the thing is with the whole kennel thing and the crate, so when you're measuring your dog for the kennel size, now just know, like, I got mine from Amazon. Did you get yours from Amazon?
No, I got mine from PetSmart.
Okay, so you can get them everywhere. I got mine from Amazon just because I didn't know really what size. Like I said, Thor is just shaped really weird, and your dog has to have clearance for like a good enough amount on the head. They have to be able to spin around, and then when they're laying down, their feet can't be
that's true,
like poking out. So we originally ordered, I think, the large kennel for him, and it was too small. So then we got the extra large, and I think you're gonna spend, depending on your dog size, was like $100 to $200.
I think.
How much was yours?
I want to say it was maybe like close to 200.
Okay, so just put $100 $200 aside for crate wise or whatever. And then what was the name of the company that you used?
We used All Pets Travel. Okay. I love them. They were, oh my gosh, the girl that I dealt with, she was amazing. She made sure that at like every step of the way I was informed, that I was receiving pictures, updates of him, because he ended up flying from LAX, and he had to stay there a night at the kennel. So he spent 24 hours at the kennel just getting him ready to fly. And I was getting updates that he was fine, that he was getting fed, that he was drinking water. So they were very amazing to me. And compared to other prices that I've heard, it was pretty cheap.
How much did you pay?
I paid $1,000. But you can claim this on your taxes, and this is why we were very okay with this. You can claim your kennel. Keep that in mind. Keep your receipts, and if you don't have a receipt, you can take a picture of the kennel that you have, and then like, I guess, get a picture from online backing up that that's how much it was, and you can turn it into the people that do your taxes or whatever you do. And yeah, so you can include your kennel and your pet being transported over here. Yeah, so he flew from LAX to Frankfurt, and he flew solo. Poor thing. But he was fine.
So was it like a cargo?
Yeah, he still flew cargo, but they dealt with all of
right?
that.
Did he get flies?
When he arrived to Frankfurt, he was within the animal area, and because I guess there was like no other dogs in the flight, they allowed him to stay in like where the horses are actually supposed to stay. That's where he stayed, so he had more room. He's basically a horse anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So $1,000 for what she did. Mine, so Thor ended up, they told us that he was gonna fly cargo, but he ended up being flown as checked baggage? Which is checked baggage. So I think we paid 200 to 300. It's been a long time. I know I should have did this video when it was fresh in my mind. I'm sorry, but I want to say it was, let's just say 300 max for what his weight was, that we had to pay when we got there.
And because Keno got here close to a month after we got here, he had to have like a special health certificate. So like for Thor, he needed a 10-day health certificate. Keno needed a 2-day health certificate, just because I'm not sure what the law is. We were told it was the law, and I don't even know what it is. I just know that I had to pay a fine for 150 just because he flew over, not with us. It's supposed to be 10 days before or after where you can like waive off that fee, but because he flew a month after, then we had to pay it.
Where did you have to do the 2-day certificate thing?
Unpost did it.
Okay.
Yeah, we just got lucky and they had an appointment for us.
So in my case, depending on what your spouse has going on, before we PCS, my husband took care of everything to make sure that we had secure flights for me, my husband, and Thor for the Patriot Express. Now, when you were PCSing, you were doing more of the paperwork.
Yeah,
and, you know,
he was really busy and didn't have no time.
It really depends. I see a lot of posts, they're like, where do I go? What do I do? Just ask your spouse, be like, what are the buildings I need to go to? What is the paperwork I need to pick up? And just make sure that if you're trying to do Patriot Express like I did, that you book within enough time. As soon as you get your orders, make sure you reserve those spots, because those fill up very quickly. And then if they don't have enough spots, then you might be in her situation to where, you know, you're gonna have to have your dog later on, and then you have to make other arrangements. Now, if you do other arrangements, you know, ask a friend, a family member, somebody that you trust with your animal, to get them to point A, B, and C before the company actually takes over. So that way you're not just freaking out and just sick to your stomach worrying about your fur baby. So once Keno got here, they had to drive to Frankfurt to be able to pick him up. So that means do not play around on getting your German driver's license when you get here. It's very easy to get your German driver's license. You can do it online. I know you can't do it too far in advance before you get here. There's like a period of time that like they want you to be actually here or before you get here. So find out that window that you need to be able to take your German driver's license, so that way you can go get your dog yourself if you either rent a car or if your car is already here. They were already here for a month, so they had all of their stuff. They got to settle in a little bit. So you don't want to have to pay a taxi a ton of money from here to Frankfurt or anywhere else because you didn't take your driver's license test. The military does not pay for anything that has to do with your dog. So you're not gonna get reimbursed unless you do like what she said with the whole tax thing, just because that's just your own expense and they don't count it as like a child. Even though we think our animals are our child, they don't see it that way. So if you're PCSing like overseas to Germany, you need to make sure that you save some money, just because if you don't get reimbursed like tax wise or something else, just know that traveling overseas is just expensive in general, especially if you have a very big dog. Now some dogs that are even bigger than our dogs, you have to have custom made crates, and then that's a whole nother ballpark of information that we didn't personally experience. But like I said, everybody goes through different things, and the whole point of this video is I'm hoping that in the comments you can share your experience, so that way you guys can kind of come to this video, look in the comments, you know, ask questions on, hey, my dog is this size, or hey, I have, you know, a Saint Bernard dog that's huge, or whatever. You know, everyone's experience is going to be totally different. When you're getting your dog set up with all their shots and immunizations and all that stuff, the dog has to be in the system. The rabies vaccine has to be in your dog's system for at least 1 month before they get on the plane. So don't do things last minute because they will straight up tell you, sorry, your dog cannot internationally travel. You need to make sure that they have their microchip. Every military post has a vet on the post. Even Fort Irwin, in the middle of nowhere, the smallest post in the world, I feel like, they have a vet on post. So go on post, make sure that your vet has a microchip put in your dog. If you already didn't get your dog microchip, that's very important. You can get fined or get a ticket if your dog's not microchipped, and you just don't want to have to deal with that.
And like when Thor got here, you said that nobody checked any of his paperwork. They went through every last one on mine just because he flew unaccompanied and we had to pick him up in Frankfurt. He went through every single paper that I had. So
yeah, be
if
prepared.
things aren't if things aren't squared away, I don't know, maybe he would. I think we were told that there's a possibility of him getting sent back, and then everything gets squared away and then he has to come back. So
that's a lot of money that you don't want to have to freaking spend. And so getting a power of attorney will be really helpful if you're new to the military world. Like we were talking, my husband took care of everything for me, but her husband gave her a power of attorney. Usually people do this when like they deploy or something like that, but then she can sign everything for her husband. She can get paperwork done, they can get everything squared away without her husband having to do everything for her.
And that way you just have like a faster pace on everything. Like it's just better to be ready beforehand than be running around last minute.
Yeah, you don't, trust me, you're already gonna be stressed enough. You don't want to, you know, worry about little tiny things last minute. Now TSA checks are different in the US and then they are different when you're headed to another country. I gotta burp. The Taco Bell. All right, so TSA, when we flew from Vegas to Miami, the TSA check was pretty extensive. They made Thor get out of the cage. They checked everything. They touched his blankets and all that stuff to make sure that he was like not carrying any bombs or drugs or anything like that. That's completely normal. Then what they're gonna do is put the dog back inside. You're not supposed to leave their collar on. They kept Thor's collar on for the international flight, but they took it off for the in-state flight. So I guess it just depends what airline, different rules. Some airlines want the collar to be on, but not like super tight, so that if your dog gets run loose, they know who the dog belongs to. So after they do the TSA check, they zip tie the crate shut so nobody can stick something in there last minute. You know, you don't want last minute things in there. And then you know, they're off to go. Now the TSA check for when we were at BWI was totally different. They didn't make him get out of the cage. They just kind of looked in there with a flashlight. He still had his collar on, and then they zip tied it at the very end. Now, you gave them food and water, right? For Kino?
I believe so. Just food, water they got.
Okay.
And they put like a huge padded thing underneath just in case he had an accident, it would absorb, which was pretty awesome.
So they you'll hear this and you'll read this in a lot of threads. They say to freeze water in their little container. So you're gonna have to get a specific type of water container for the crate. Certain ones aren't allowed, certain ones they don't recommend. I think it just has to screw on a certain way so that it's not moving around and stuff like that. But they do recommend like freezing some water in the little container, in the bowl, and then that way your dog can like have water throughout the time of traveling. Now, I was at a hotel, there was no freezer, so that didn't work. They told us to give a bottle of water and some food, and they taped it on the top of his crate, but they ended up not feeding Thor. I think our flight was only 8 hours. Was it 8? It was an 8-hour flight, right? From BWI?
Yeah, I think so.
So it was an 8-hour flight. It wasn't like too crazy, but when I got Thor, he drank 2 full bottles of water. He peed a lot, and so he was really, really thirsty. So depending on I don't know who's working that day. Things like this can change from who's in charge, who's working. You know, you can't just hold on to every little piece of word that someone tells you, and you really have to be flexible and kind of go with the flow and know that things can change, and that, you know, you just kind of have to learn as you go. As far as things that you can put inside the crate, you can do, like she said, puppy pads to just in case they have an accident, depending if your dog gets really nervous, might poop when they're nervous, throw up. I was like a super dog mom. Like my backpack, I had like 12 puppy sheets ready. I had the dog friendly dog wipes. I had his it's like a travel bowl that you pop. It's like a silicone bowl. I had that clipped onto my backpack. I had treats for him. I had everything. So if you're a dog mom, just have all of the things, like a diaper bag for your dog, just in case that when he arrives, you might need to clean them up. So other than the wet pad in the crate, they don't want a bunch of stuff. You can have a blanket in there, and I believe like they can have one toy, right?
I think so.
So it just depends. If your dog is like a destructive type dog, I wouldn't leave a toy in there. So it's just one of those things that if you want, you can make the blanket like smell like you, so that way they feel a little bit more comfortable. Thor had just a big fleece blanket in there, and that's all I put in there, and the little water tray, but he didn't get to use it, so I did let him drink water before, use the bathroom right before he went poop and pee. Thankfully, I was like, you're going to the bathroom before you get on this plane, and he was good to go. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, just go ahead and leave them in the comments. I just hear breathing in my ear. Leave them in the comments down below, and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. I really want you guys to kind of have a back and forth down in the comments on your experience. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. You can subscribe down below, leave comments, all that kind of stuff. I'll leave another video that's Germany related that you can watch right after on the screen. And until next time, I'll see y'all beautiful people later. Bye.